This is the first place in all of Oman receiving sun in the morning due to its high peak. The highest mountain of the country, Oman's Grand Canyon. Visit the famous mountain Jebel Shams and its surroundings, including the historical old town Misfat, the deep gorge of Wadi Nakr, and its famous hospitable locals who live a simple life on what feels like the edge of the world. Good morning, everyone. It's another day with perfect weather, and I hope today not so much wind though, because we are going to one of the most famous places of Oman today. One place that every tourist has to visit, and that's the mountain peak Jebel Shams, the highest and probably as well the most famous mountain of Oman. And you know, that's as well the pictures that you see everywhere if you would go like to a travel agency or if you see some advertisers of Oman. That's exactly this mountain, Jebel Shams. Before heading direction to the highest mountain of the country though, we first had to go back from where we came from, riding down the mountain Jebel Akhdar to the valley, from where we would head into the next mountains. Here in the north of Oman, it feels a bit like all roads eventually take you back to this valley here, because Jebel Shams, the high mountain we are heading to, is a one-way road to, or dead-end road you say too. But before we go there, I first want to visit an old village called Misfat, which is kind of on the way. Misfat was actually not directly on our way, but the famous old town is of course situated on the end of another dead-end road. Here is the sign that says Misfat 6 kilometers, and the town we are driving through here is Al Hamra, which is actually supposed to be pretty nice too, but unfortunately we can't stop everywhere. And I think Misfat is even nicer, so that's why we will stop there. From Al Hamra, the road to Misfat leads up another mountain. I think we arrived. I actually don't know if I'm allowed to go further. Let's see. So this here seems to be the end of the road. You're not allowed to enter the old town with a vehicle, or I think you just can't enter it with a vehicle because the alleys are very small, and I think there are as well a lot of stairs. So we are in this old town of, I think it's called Misfa. Now you can see it behind me, and we're gonna explore it now. That's the first stop for today. Due to its unique architecture and history, Misfat is a well-visited touristic place, but at the same time it is a very traditional old town. That's why there are even signs at the beginning of town that ask visitors to respect the local custodies, which means applying to the traditional dress code with long-armed shirts that cover your shoulders and long pants, which anyways should be worn everywhere in Oman as soon as you leave your hotel if you want to respect the local culture, no matter if you are a man or woman. Look at these tiny little roads between the old houses. Misfat Al Abrin is located 1,000 meters above sea level and named after the Al-Abri tribe, who originally came from Misfat and Al Hamra. The village boasts traditional old mud houses with palm front roofs and beautiful alleys that are built on solid rock formations. The people in the village not only live from tourism though, but from the agricultural terraces, where they grow bananas, papayas, mangoes, and of course palm trees. The terraces are watered by an old intricate system called falai that is carved into the rocks and sourced by a spring. Misfat is a green oasis all year round. Stopping here for a coffee with their own brand. I'm not drinking coffee, but my travel partner will tell you if it's good. And how's the coffee?
It's acceptable.
Even though the coffee might not be the best in Oman, the view from Halwa Coffee definitely is the best of Misfat. So check out this little place or stay in a traditional guest house right below the cafe. That's it, Misfat. Now we're heading to Jebel Shams first, but on the way I want to explore a so-called wadi. Like always, our ride took us back to the valley, but not for very long. The climb to Jebel Shams starts very close to Al Hamra. How beautiful is this? You already know that this leads to the mountains, but Jebel Shams is as well called the Grand Canyon of Oman, and I heard a rumor that there is a so-called wadi where you can drive into the bottom of the canyon, and of course I want to do that, but I don't know where it starts because Google had the wadi on a map, but I could not find any road leading to it, so we will have to look for that road to go into this wadi. Only a minute later, I saw a sign that said Al Nakr, and while we were standing at the sign, contemplating if this was the right way, the car of a tour guide stopped next to us. He confirmed that this was the route into the canyon, and that the length of the road was only 7 kilometers. But he as well told us that we would not make the road with our motorcycles. We just met a tourist guide who was very friendly, but he said he doesn't think that we can go there with the motorcycles. And we said we would try, and he gave us his number. So if we will not succeed, we might call him. Excuse me? Is this the way to Wadi Nakr? Okay, thank you. First the road started out fine, but very soon it turned into what looked like a riverbed with very deep gravel. After we covered 2 of the 7 kilometers to our goal, we decided to find a place with a more solid ground to park our bikes and to call the friendly guide before we would lose connection. So we just decided to not go any further with our bikes, but we were lucky because before we turned in here, we asked a car driver if this is the right way. And it turned out that he was a tourist guide with a 4x4 drive. And he already said it's very difficult on the motorcycles. So we will go with him now. And he was right. And we just called him and he will drive with us now in this 5 kilometers. So that's our guide. What's your name?
Nasser.
Nasser.
Yes.
And he will be our guide now to Wadi Al Nakr. And look at this road. The deeper we went into the Wadi Al Nakr canyon, the more happy we were that we didn't take our motorcycles. What had looked and felt like a riverbed to us when riding the first 2 kilometers turned out to really be a riverbed. A wadi is a valley or canyon that fills up with water after heavy rainfalls and can get completely flooded. Our guide told us that in case of Wadi Al Nakr, the water is rising up to 5 or 6 meters during some parts of the year, which means that the road we took was literally the bed of the river. So we're very happy that we went with our guide because we would have died from sweat, tears and
here. Because the road is really not so good. It's doable, but it would have taken us forever.
The deeper we went into the canyon, the higher the walls of rocks were rising up right next to us. There is a good reason why Wadi al-Nakr is widely popular as the Grand Canyon of the Middle East. And the top of these cliffs, that we could spot from the bottom of Wadi al-Nakr several thousand meters above us, were our final destination of the day, the top of the mountain Jebel Shams, the highest mountain of Oman, that we would drive to later. But for now, we were just busy with trying to grasp the monumental size of these cliffs with our minds. The road through the wadi and along its riverbed ends at a settlement with the same name that you can actually see from the top of Jebel Shams mountain. It is only partly populated though. The only dominant building is the Al-Nakr Tourist Hotel that has no electricity or any other luxury, but that you can actually stay at. If you want to do so, you have to call and book in advance though, otherwise the owners will not be around.
So we're in Wadi Bani Nakr now, and we're both very happy that we went with the car and with the guide. Now we're looking at these cliffs here. It's absolutely stunning, and basically the top of the cliffs is where we're gonna drive next.
Even though we were already familiar with the drive on our way back and used to the bumpy riverbed, it still felt like the longest 5 kilometers that we had ever driven in our lives.
Thank you so much for the trip.
Shukran.
Shukran.
Wow, that has been absolutely worth it, and now let's get out of here. We, by the way, left our motorcycles with nearly all of our luggage on the side of the road here. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but Oman is one of the safest countries on earth, and to be honest, it doesn't feel like anyone would steal something from our bikes here, actually anywhere we parked them so far. It just feels like super, super safe. It's funny, I thought that this day would be kind of short, but all of our excursions already took quite a while. So let's get up here at Jebel Shams. The road to Jebel Shams turned into a dirt road after a while. Unlike Wadi Nakr, a pretty good, smooth dirt road though. Finally, this is a really fun mountain road to drive, and I tell you, it was so hot all day. I'm looking forward to get higher up into the mountain where temperatures are not that high. Unlike most other days, we actually had booked an accommodation the night before. We were traveling in the main tourist season, and the top of Jebel Shams was actually the only place that I had dreamt of staying before visiting Oman. So I wanted to make sure to be able to do so. The road here is very funny. It turned from asphalt to dirt, back to asphalt, and now dirt again, but I think we are pretty high up now. Let's look if we can find a view.
Welcome to Jebel Shams, which is also called the Grand Canyon of Oman.
With 3,009 meters, Jebel Shams is the highest mountain in Oman. And once you are up there, looking down at Al-Nakr, where we just had been before, you really don't need any further explanations why they call Jebel Shams the Grand Canyon of Arabia. We were traveling the highest mountain of Oman and entering the homeland of the shepherds of Oman, with their goats and sheep roaming around freely everywhere. Our accommodation tonight can be a complete hit or miss. It sounded a bit weird. I think it has only 2 rooms, but according to the picture, it's supposed to have a very nice view, and that's why I booked it, so we're very curious. The ride to the remote village where our accommodation was supposed to be was the last challenge of the day, because the road got unexpected steep and sandy in the end. On our arrival, we realized, though, that we were not the only tourists. Right in front of our doorstep started one of the most famous hikes in Oman. But we were basically the only tourists who stayed overnight, because our accommodation really only had 2 rooms. And both of them with a view that probably has no other competition in the whole country. So we arrived here at our accommodation for tonight, and first the view is absolutely amazing. Then it's goat heaven. There are lots of goats here, and it's super beautiful. A place with only 2 rooms and the best view ever. The small settlement of Al-Qutaim is situated right on the cliffs of Jebel Shams, and the closest neighbor is an old shepherd who unfortunately lost his wife decades ago, and according to our host is 95 years old.
Hello. Look at this one.
Jebel Shams means translated Mountain of the Sun. And the next morning I woke up early to witness the spectacle of the amazing sunrise. The mountain is known as Jebel Shams because it is the first place to receive sun in Oman due to its high peak. With a sunrise like this, it needs to be an awesome, relaxed day. Doesn't it? Thank you for watching this episode, and definitely one of the highlights of our Oman journey. If you liked the ride as much as we did, leave a comment and a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to join the virtual Got2Go travel crew. The next episode will not be a dull one though. It will take us to one of Oman's most challenging dirt roads, the famous super steep Wadi Bani Auf. If you want to see me sweating of fear, tune in next Thursday.